Women are still socialized certain ways. Again, it is changing, but it is not there. So I would say, in answer to your question, even before we are trying to understand what we want to study, what careers we want to pursue, we are socialized that there are certain things that you shouldn't do or can't do. Women aren't as good as math. That's a myth.
Definitely a myth.
Women, you know, right? You've already told me that.
What piece of advice have you gotten or have you received somewhere that has helped you so far that you want to pass along to someone else?
The first thing that comes to my mind is kind of like, well, so what? And what I mean by that is, if you hear, well, no, that hasn't been done, or well, you don't have this, and so therefore you. It's kind of like, so what?
So what?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, that does not mean.
Hashtag so what?
Hashtag so what? You know.
Hey, what's up, good people? Welcome to the City Entrepreneur Show, a talk show that highlights up-and-coming local legends and founders who dare to take a chance on their vision, even when the odds are stacked against them. And today, just like usual, I bring you the dopest entrepreneurs in KC who are doing the, exceptional work in Kansas City. And before you even go forward, please like, subscribe, share, let people know we're out here. Anyways, let's get right into it. My guest today has been both in the tech industry and marketing space as well. Please help me make welcome the one and only the founder of Bluesymphony, Sherry Lumpkins. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, Zeke, for having me.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
How you doing today?
Yeah. I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. What do you think about the weather outside? I know we're in spring, so it's kind of up and down.
No, I mean, I love warm weather. I love sunshine.
Yes.
A little cloudy today, so
yes.
Looking forward to come up.
See, because like yesterday, I think earlier it was like bright in the morning, then I don't know what happened. It just went to cloud. But anyways, thank you so much for coming on the show and saying yes. I really appreciate you and all you do in Kansas City. But for those who don't know who Sherry is, give them just a brief bio of who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I'm Sherry Lumpkins, and as you said, I'm the founder of Bluesymphony. Bluesymphony is an IT and marketing firm. By IT, I mean information technology. We build websites, we design databases, we create software. We're in that space. And then, as you said, we're marketing as well, and help businesses, large and small, help them increase their bottom line, grow their brand, thrive. We're here to kind of help that small and large businesses do their thing.
Yeah. So how did you even get into this space? Like, take us back. Actually, just take us way back. Who was Sherry in high school? Let's go all the way back.
Once upon a time, there was a young girl named Sherry.
Yes.
In high school, actually, I was kind of quiet a little. Some people would not agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm one of those kind of people who's generally introverted, but then once we get to know each other,
you're extroverted.
You can't shut me up. Kind of thing. So I mean that was kind of high school life. Yeah. And I did well in math. I guess I was a smart kid.
Yeah.
Anybody from Kansas City, I'm from the Castle on the Hill.
Okay.
That's Lincoln Academy.
Okay.
And so I'm a proud graduate of that. Go Tigers.
Yes.
And then moved on to bigger and better things.
So college, because I knew you went from accounting and going into tech. So talk to me about college. What was college like for you?
I loved college. College was an awesome experience. I actually started out at Northeast Missouri State, which is in Kirksville. It's Truman State now.
Okay.
I went on a college, actually an accounting scholarship.
Oh wow! Okay.
So yeah, I liked math. I thought that sounds like a decent field.
Yeah.
I ended up transferring back to UMKC as an accounting major.
Go Roos.
Yep, go Roos. There you go. I got about halfway through that program and said, maybe I don't want to do this as a career every day for the next however many decades. At the time, I was taking internships. I encourage any student to take advantage of internships. Internships are beautiful things.
Yes.
So I was an intern, and that's essentially where I kind of discovered the field of IT. And I really got into it. I thought, this is interesting. I can do this every day for however many decades. And I switched majors and set me back a year or two.
Yeah.
Because again, I was already halfway through that accounting program.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, have never looked back. It was it was the right decision.
Two things. Accounting for me. So I took a class in accounting back in college. I thought I knew math, but accounting is a whole different kind of math.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think the accounting 101 that I took back in business school, our whole class failed.
Seriously?
The whole class failed. So the teacher had to she had to teach us like we were in middle school. She had to teach us, this is what is going to be on the exam. You people should just study these subjects, like literally.
She taught the test.
She told it, like, you have to say this.
I don't know how I feel about that.
And still everyone came to the test. I'm like, I don't know any of this. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? So she was really frustrated, but then, after the first test, now we actually knew what was going to be on the test, because she thought we were.
Wow.
She thought we were smart, which expected to be in business school, but it didn't work out that way. So that's why I didn't go into accounting. I could have been an accountant.
That's why.
Yeah, that's why. I could have been an accountant,
That's the reason.
But then talk to me about internships, because I know that while because I was in engineering school before I moved to business, and I realized that each time I go to like an internship, the fairs that they have, I never felt like I fit in those fairs, just because I couldn't really connect to that. For you, going through an internship, was that the difference? Like, hey, I could actually go into this.
Absolutely. I mean, I seriously, honestly discovered that I could viably have a career in IT because of an internship. It wasn't even specifically an IT internship. It was pretty general. But just getting into computers, learning how to use the computer. I'm dating myself. So at the time I was in college, you didn't have computers in your pockets. I'll go ahead and admit that. So yeah. So there wasn't a computer in every pocket. There wasn't a computer in every, not 5 laptops in every home. So I kind of had to. We had messed with computers in high school, but not to the degree where I understood beyond, oh, that's fun. It was not it wasn't until I actually had to do work on a computer where I thought, I wonder if this is real. So I mean, but internships, I think, and you make a really good point. It really does depend on where you're interning.
Exactly.
But they can be just invaluable. We actually have internships for students, and maybe we can get into that later. But I was able to. You get that in office experience, so kind of a peek at what may be to come while you're still in school.
Exactly.
And again, depending on the quality of the internship, you do learn things. You learn things. So I did. I discovered my career through an internship. I also have to give many shouts out to Inroads. It was pretty big back when I was doing my thing, and Inroads was a beautiful thing for college students and high school students. It actually took you from high school through college into your entry-level job, and so it was a development program.
See, I think I agree with, like, if you are an intern or you're an internship and you don't feel like this is a fit for you, you should probably have thoughts of where else would you explore. Because finally, when I was in middle school, I actually got to get like 2 internships, and even though I was doing those, I just felt like it wasn't for me. They were paying good, but it really wasn't for me. And I really had to think deep, like, what do I really want to do? So I think it's a good question to ask yourself. It can't be just one path,
But you learned from that internship.
Yes.
That's what I mean. You discovered that.
That's not what you want to do.
Exactly. Seriously, that's what I mean.
So let's go back to the computer thing.
Okay.
So back in Nigeria, I think this was like my middle school. Like you said, so my first encounter with computers was the keyboards.
Okay.
So when I mean the keyboard, it wasn't like it was plugged in.
Okay, all right, let's do this.
Okay. So I started at the very minimum.
Just the keyboard.
So just the keyboard.
Got it.
And the next step was hardware.
Okay.
This computer, I don't know where mine. So back then, my mom had a school. I don't know where she found this guy, this man. I don't know if it was like a scrap man, like, people who hoarders.
Love this.
This man will come to a class with hardware from computers, like
Yes,
the
I love
CPU
this.
and stuff like that. It wasn't even plugged in. He was teaching us like the actual raw materials
I was like, you're
of a
building
computer.
a computer.
I'm like, When are we going to get to use this computer? But the funny thing is, we never actually got to use a computer. It was just the keyboard, the mouse. They were coming in parts. It's like, what are we doing here? But anyways, that was my first experience with like a computer. And I was like, maybe this is not the field for me. Is this how we're going to view this from one part to, I don't think I want to do that. So anyways, I couldn't be a computer science student.
So you got it. Okay.
But that's
why you're not that.
That's the way I'm not there. I'm just giving you reasons.
Yep.
But let's fast forward a bit, right? Before we go, actually, I know Ken is going to come for me for this. Are you related to Halle Berry by any chance, any means? Ken, don't come for me. Don't come for me, Ken.
You know what? I will not confirm nor deny.
Nor deny. Yeah?
That's right.
Because you have the same, hairstyle and everything.
But I have many hairstyles, but that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other, okay.
Many
so
hairstyles.
let's shift a little bit. Let's shift gears into tech, right? So what was the main reason for you to say, hey, I know you felt like tech wasn't for you, but what was it convincing fact that made you say, hey, I'm going to go into this all the way in?
I mean, it's not anything earth-shattering. I have a firm belief that you should first pursue your passion.
Exactly.
And hopefully, prayerfully, you can actually make a living from that, and kind of work from there. So it's not necessarily chasing a dollar or chasing a fad. It really is what's your passion. Because again, I don't want myself nor anyone else to dread waking up in the morning. I mean, for most people, you 5 days a week, you work more hours in the day than you don't. So if you've got to be in a situation most of the day, let's not make it something you dread.
True.
Let's make it something that, again, preferably you would do for free if you could. That really is a priority for me. Now, obviously, there are some passions that maybe you can't make a living from. But again, you start there and you kind of shoot for that, and then land where you can in that middle ground where it's like, okay, I can feed myself and I can enjoy this. That was one thing. The other thing is it was very interesting, kind of being a woman in tech, African American in tech,
Yes.
very, very often the only one in the room, kind of thing. And I don't know that I necessarily chose that, but it didn't. I didn't think it through before I got into it.
Yeah.
I just thought I like this, and so it wasn't an immediate realization again until I was put in that situation. Yeah.
Let's dive deeper into you being a Black woman in tech. In those rooms, what were your experiences, in those rooms you walked into and you were like, man, this is different?
Yeah. There were, frankly, lots of different kinds of reactions. The one that kind of was that I probably realized most is when you walk into the room and you're just kind of ignored, that kind of thing. Because, there's an assumption that perhaps your input is not valuable. That one, I've been, this was years ago. I do think things are changing. We're not there, but things are different now. But years ago, again, I'm accustomed to being the only one in the room. I was working at my desk one day. It was a large company, multiple floors in the building, maybe 100 to 200 people on every floor. And I'm working at my desk. Back in the day, you were at a cube and you had a sign with your name on it sitting outside your cube. Two men approached me at my desk and called me by someone else's name. It just so happened that someone else was like the only other Black woman, but they were on the wrong floor. And so I'm thinking, and he said her name, and I look and I go, no. And of course, he was completely embarrassed because it was so obvious why he would call me by her name, especially when my name is literally
outside.
Right in front of me. So things like that, those types of experiences, and you just kind of have to. I've advised other people, and people feel defensive. I've gotten that. When you do try to offer your value and your input, they feel defensive. And at the time, I tried to adapt. So rather than make someone feel offensive, maybe I offer my input in the form of a question. What do you think about And so essentially, at the time at least, I had to get in there, make the decision makers and powers that be and influential people feel comfortable. Then realize that I know my stuff, I know what I'm doing, you need to pay attention. Once they realize that, then it's okay. Then it's okay. I can wear my hair the way I want to wear it. I can say things without it always being a question. I can, that kind of thing.
And I like what you said. There has been improvement when it comes to the tech space and stuff like that, but it's not there yet.
That's right.
Today, do you think there are some challenges that women are facing in tech that we should be a lot further than we are right now?
Well, absolutely, and actually, it actually begins much earlier than when you are actually ready to enter your career or your field of study. Women are still socialized certain ways. Again, it is changing, but it is not there. So I would say, in answer to your question, even before we are trying to understand what we want to study, what careers we want to pursue, we are socialized that there are certain things that you shouldn't do or can't do. Women aren't as good as math. That's a myth.
Definitely a myth.
Women, right? You've already told me about it. But there are certain, as toddlers we're socialized. I'll never forget, she's a little older now, but I have a young niece who was about 3 years old at the time. We were having a conversation, and I asked her what color she wanted something to be, as some toy or something, and she said, I want a blue one. And then she stopped and she said, I want a pink one. And so we had to, she's 3 years old.
Subconscious.
And it starts with you being taught certain things. There are statistics, of course I told her blue was perfectly fine. There are statistics that show at a certain age, in just before middle school, I believe, when you ask boys and girls the same question, can you run fast? Can you do this? They answer kind of the same. By the time they get to middle school, girls are now saying, no, I can't do that, but I can do this other thing, this girl thing. And so by the time you get to what do you want to study, what do you want to be when you grow up, you're making choices based on what you've been socialized as acceptable. Even females that do take the chance and enter the field, sometimes they're chased out because of how they're treated in the classroom, that type of thing. So there are definitely strides that need to be still made. But again, it begins way back, even before they're in school.
What would you say to maybe a young lady out there who has either have the subconscious thing going on that has affected the way they perceive themselves or confidence of what they can actually do, and you being able to have kind of, you trail the way to where you are today. Well, what do you say to them where they are right now?
I genuinely say, look at me, look at other, representation does matter. It really does. And so it is possible, it is doable. Pursue your passion, those types of things. This kind of outside stuff is noise, and it is absolutely surmountable. It's not. Yeah. It's not that serious. Some days it may feel that serious, but it is not. I'm here to tell you.
Yeah, and I feel like the passion one is very important, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of who you are. Because if you are doing something, like you said, I think, like my teacher back in middle school or high school used to say, he said that common sense is not common, which is very interesting, but it's like, if you are in a field that you cannot do for free, probably shouldn't be in there. Because you are there for just the money. And that will never satisfy you as a person. If you don't feel passionate every single day, I had an interview, I think it was with Dr. Cooper, and she was like, if you don't think about that thing every single time you're driving, you're walking, thinking of a way to make new solutions, it's not for you. Because you're not making effort to improve as a person. In that same light, right? So how did you go from being in the tech space to getting into marketing? How did you get into that, like tech to marketing? How did that all come about?
So it's interesting that you say share is tech and marketing. This is when we're actually getting beyond me as an individual and my capabilities and scope of work into my agency's scope of work. So it is true that when I founded the company, it was just me, the individual, and I was doing independent consulting in the technology space.
Okay.
As the agency grew, and the more clients that we worked with, again, primary focus on technology, we would get to clients and they would say something like, "Oh, we need an amazing website." And we say, "Awesome. Let's talk about your brand." Well, and didn't have, and you really shouldn't be delivering things like websites and things like that without understanding your brand.
Yes.
And so we would say, we strongly recommend that you take a step back.
Exactly.
And let's talk about that first. So it really kind of evolved out of necessity. My background is technology. I'm smart enough to know that I do what I do best, and then I bring on experts to do what they do best, and that's how we deliver, excellence.
Yeah.
And so my background is not marketing. My primary work is not marketing, but my agencies, that's within our scope of services. So when you say so that's how the agency got into marketing. I don't consider myself
Just
the individual a marketer.
marketing, okay.
But Bluesymphony absolutely is
Does
a marketing
marketing.
company. We've got all sorts of wonderful things that I'm excited about in the marketing space that we do.
Yeah.
But I'm in that respect, I'm much more of a manager than actual.
Yeah.
Delivery.
Which will come to the elements of Bluesymphony. I do want to ask you this though, because behind the scene we're talking about you going from being an employee to owning your own business.
Yeah.
When was that transition, and why was that important for you?
Yeah, the transition came. I did what a lot of people do. I graduated and did the 9-to-5 in corporate America for a few years, and that was fine because, to our point, I was doing something that I enjoyed. Just prior to founding Bluesymphony, I was working at a company as a consultant. So I was an employee of a consulting company, and they place you in different places. The companies often ask the consultant, "Do you want to work for us forever?" That kind of thing. And typically we consultants say, "No, we don't, but thank you." That time, I don't know, maybe it was a time of change in my life. Someone was able to convince me, come and, be an employee. And shortly after that, I said, I think I want to start my own thing.
Yeah.
It's just that the corporate path did not feel as I was not able to maintain the same passion trying to pursue the traditional corporate path versus stepping out. When I stepped out, my goal was not to found an agency and to become a company owner, with employees and that kind of thing. My goal was to continue doing what I love to do. And so that's how I became an independent consultant.
Okay.
And thankfully, it evolved. But that was the decision. It's kind of like, well, this path doesn't feel good to me anymore.
Yeah.
What does?
What steps did you take to get to starting your company? What are the steps you took from? Because I know it wasn't easy to leave your
That's
job.
right.
What was it? What
That's
was the
right.
steps for you?
It was scary. I will say that. You didn't ask me that, but that's what I remember when you take me back there.
Yeah.
That's kind of what comes with the reminder. It's
Talk to us
scary.
more about that scary part of it. Yeah.
Because it's a risk.
Yes.
I'm not naturally a risk taker, and so it's kind of like you have a job. It's a good job. Back then, people weren't getting laid off left and right, and so you're probably going to have this job for a while. Why in the world would you give up that and to try to go and convince people to hire you? And again, you don't necessarily know how to convince people to hire you. You know technology. That was very scary because I'm always wanting to make sure, again, that I can keep my lights on and feed myself.
Yes.
and when I say, okay, you're not going to get a paycheck anymore unless you convince someone to give you one. That's terrifying for me.
Yeah.
But again, so yes, it was. But I guess a safety net maybe is what's the worst that can happen. I can't feed myself. I go back to get a job. And so that was a risk I was willing to take in order to, again, remain passionate about my career.
What was those early stages like of you be like the grind of it? What was those days like when it didn't seem like it was gonna work out?
So a couple of things. There's some internal and there's some external. I have a wonderful support system. I think no man is an island. I very much believe that. I believe human beings are very social. I believe no man is an island, and I have a wonderful support system. Through my family and friends, so I have that encouragement and things like that. And then in addition to that, there is the self-talk to say, I do know I'm good at this, but then there's also, well, let me sit down and try to understand why this wasn't a good day. Why didn't I get that sale? What can I do differently about that? So there were very, I try to take a very holistic approach to make sure, mentally and physically that I'm in a good place, but then and also very pragmatic and practical. What do I need to do differently to get a different outcome? And so it's trial and error. It's research. It's if you could get a mentor, that's even better. So it's a lot. I think it's kind of what you could go on and on and on about what does it take, and it's a lot of long hours. I heard someone once say, entrepreneurs are the only people who would leave a 40-hour-a-week job to work 80 hours a week. That kind of thing.
That is, that is true. That it makes me laugh because I totally understand what you're saying. It's like, you're looking for freedom, but at the same time, you have to work for that freedom because you own your own self. And like what you said is, you have to go and convince someone to buy. And if you don't do that, no one's gonna come and knock. Hey,
that's right.
Sell me something.
That's right.
You have to build your own business. So it's very important, and also like scary because you don't know. You will get how many no's. Like you're not sure how many no's you're gonna get before you get that one. So it's a very scary position to be in. And I do want to ask this from a business plan, strategy point of view. What were because you're talking about, Bluesymphony is not just a tech agency, it's a marketing. How were you able to find those elements that you couldn't, do, and how were you able to find the pieces of people who could do those things and bring them together? That's actually an excellent question. I think we just we really evolved as opposed to jumped into it, and so it's a matter of, again, I approach things very analytically. So I'll go, where do I want to be, and what does that look like, and define that very much, and then I say, okay, so where am I? And then what steps do I need to get there? So to your point, is going, well, if we are evolving officially into a marketing agency in addition to the tech, like you just said, I'm going to need some marketing experts. And I don't know if this sounds trite or not, but I really do want to be excellent as opposed to good enough. And so not only do I need to find some people who know marketing, but I need to find experts in marketing, people who really know what they're doing, and people even in entry level who have that aptitude, that type of thing. And so it's a matter of what you're talking about now is when I'm having to evolve from that technician, I guess, understanding technology and what I do day to day, writing a program, designing a database, to stepping back and understanding running a business. I run a business, yes. That's what that is. And so understanding, well, what kind of personnel do I need? How many right now do I need, and can I sustain? All of that's new to me. I went to school to learn how to, for tech. Yes. I didn't go to school for management. How were you able to step up to that though? How did you do that?
Sometimes I took some of these classes and courses that were available. Kansas City does a pretty decent job of trying to make resources available, I would say. But again, sometimes it is research and then trial and error. That didn't work again. I'm always, no matter what I'm doing, it's kind of like, okay, if it didn't work, why didn't it work, and what do I change? So it's an evolution, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is maybe one failure you had like starting out that you had to learn how to transition? Like, do you have like example of like something that happened that you really learned a lot from that has helped you grow as a company, as a person? There was. This has been a couple of years ago, and maybe so that's a recent, in my mind, it's kind of recent. To your point, to what we were just talking about, when you're trying to evolve and expand and grow and step back to run a business versus work in it, I'm walking that line of trying to understand that I don't need to be involved in everything that I do, or everything that every employee does at my job. Yes.
I don't have to touch everything. I stepped back a little too much, and some clients had a bad experience with some of our work products. So the question becomes, how do you balance that? How do you not micromanage, but ensure that you're going to deliver the highest quality product that represents you and your company the way that you want it to do. And so the client was not comfortable with that.
Okay.
And so I had to understand different processes, document those, roll them out, so that everybody understood the same thing before anything leaves the door, things like that.
Okay. So on the same note, from a manager leadership perspective side of things, how do you choose people? What do you look for in someone you are trying to bring on your team?
That very much is going to depend on what level I'm trying to fill a position at. So again, we have interns, and one of the goals of the internships is to kind of do my small part to close that STEM gap. Women, people of color are disproportionately underrepresented in the STEM field. And again, I know I can't solve that problem by myself, but I can do something. Our interns, we do have a high percentage of interns who are women, who are people of color, and my belief is that when that intern graduates, and on their resume, not only do they have the degree in the field, but I've actually been working in the real world. I think that's going to benefit them when a hiring manager is looking at 2 resumes. And so that person, I think, is going to increase their chances.
Yeah.
So I look for, in them, I just need to understand that they have the commitment and the interest. I believe if you're not really into it, that you're not going to do a good job. So if they're interested in the field and they've got the commitment, that's the intern. Entry level, again, the aptitude and the work ethic. And then as you get into more senior roles, then I'm looking for people that are going to understand. Again, there's a difference between getting the job done and truly being excellent.
Exactly.
And so I'm looking for people that get that and that believe in that just as strongly as me. Because if you get somebody that, I can do this, and it'll get done, as opposed to, how can I make the client go, oh, that kind of thing. I want all of my team to feel that way. How do we make them do it? And so I'm looking for people like that. Not only do I know what I'm doing, but I guess take a lot of pride in what you do.
Exactly.
That's what I'm looking for.
You have to be confident before you come to the table.
Yes.
And I feel like for me, it's interest. Interest and being able to be reliable. Those are very important to me.
For sure.
Because no matter how smart you are, how hardworking you are, but if I can't rely on you, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Because the people who you can rely on is people who can always call, regardless of what's happening, right?
And you don't have to worry.
You don't have to worry where they're going to be, if they're going to be there when you need them, right? But let's shift gears a little bit. being an entrepreneur, being in the rooms where you probably are like the only female Black lady in the room. Have you seen any difference between a female entrepreneur and male entrepreneur in the industry that you're in?
That's a great question. I think
in terms of you as what you do, in terms of people, is it a reaction, or when it comes to you getting different work or stuff like that?
Well, when you thanks for clarifying. So the thing that popped in my mind when you said that is sometimes people are surprised, and sometimes people just say it. I've actually had one person say to me, "You don't look like you're in technology."
What is that? What
That's
are we
pretty
supposed
loaded,
to
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a very loaded statement. I actually had someone say that. Out loud to me in my face.
Wow.
So when people go, oh, and then you tell, that's the first, and then, well, how long have you been in business? Well, it's now 20 years. Oh. I mean, just the raw surprise and shock. And I don't see that same reaction when talking to some of my male counterparts, or again, different gender, different ethnicity. You don't get the same reaction.
Yeah. Wow. That's very interesting, because it's like, why that reaction? It doesn't make any sense. Now, being in Kansas City, being from Kansas City, and also running your business in Kansas City, what are some challenges you faced being able to grow your business here, or has it always been easy sailing, everything has been smooth all the way?
Every day, smooth all the way, easy sailing. I don't know that my experience has been unique. We have, I think, similar challenges that other businesses do. For me, at least, business ebbs and flows. I do think Kansas City is a fairly tight-knit community. So I do think getting in the right rooms, being at the right tables, your name being on the right people's lips, that kind of thing.
Yes.
I think that makes a significant difference. Because again, we really do know what we're doing, and we really do deliver excellence. But if the right people don't know that, we don't have the opportunity. And so I do think, Kansas City, and again, I don't think it's unique, but I do think it's a who you know game, and when, what room are you in?
Yeah. I think Emmett Pearson was on my show, and he said that, who's talking about you when you're in the room? That's very important. So you touched the same subject, where it's like, who is talking about you? Because that's where the money talks comes in. Because if no one's talking about you when you're in the room, you're not going to get the contract.
That's yes, I completely agree.
Now let me ask you this. So from your perspective, what if someone is asking you, give a 30 seconds pitch of what Bluesymphony does? What would you say?
Bluesymphony is a technology and marketing firm that builds websites, custom software, database design, brand development, online, offline marketing, digital communications. We help companies save money. We help companies grow. Wow, it's a platter of things you do. From a KC perspective, again, funding. What do you think? So, I mean, I will say we're primarily self-funded. I know that's not something that everyone can say. Again, we'll go back to earlier when I talked about I'm very low risk. And so it was, so I'm going, you know what, let me just take baby steps because I feared taking some massive loan. Yeah. And then that's hanging over my head. I actually hate having debt. I pay my credit cards off every month. So I essentially invested what I could afford into the company. And then had the company, so the company has kind of earned its own keep. Which does impact our growth strategy. Okay. And so we are at a phase in the company where funding would probably be something that we should consider. But to date, we've been pretty fortunate enough that it's self-funded.
Yeah. I mean, again, I feel like you are, when it comes to Bluesymphony, you're kind of behind the scene because you manage everything.
That's right. Yeah.
And is that intentional?
I won't say that it's intentional. I think tone is set from the top down. And again, when I founded the company, I did not say, I'm going to create a company, a full-blown agency that does all these things and has all these people working here. That was not my original vision. We evolved into that, and I'm thrilled that we evolved into that. But that being the case, to your point, we didn't start out making sure that everybody knew us. And one of our recently added team members says, we're kind of ninjas, we get stuff done, but nobody sees us, and I'm like, you know what, I think we are. And the thing is, we've been telling people, you may not have heard of us, but you probably have seen our work. I mean, when you look at, some of billboards in the city, I mean, digital things, you've probably seen things we've done and didn't know it was us. And we are working on changing that. That was not intentional.
Okay. As we're coming closer to the end of the show, I want to ask you this. What do you think about having the right people in your corner? Like, what do you look for? Tell someone out there who's trying to figure out, hey, do I have the right people in my corner? Like, who are people who you should have on your corner, especially when you're doing something that you are afraid might not work out?
Yeah, that's excellent. An excellent thought to have. You really do need a support system is important. Again, from a holistic standpoint, someone that can kind of help keep you mentally encouraged, but always with that, it could be the same person, but probably it's a different person. Someone that understands pragmatism, someone that understands how to, because you don't just want to hope and wish. You want to set goals and then
exactly.
and exactly, and take that's right. And so it's not just feel good about yourself. You're a great person. You're an awesome person. Okay, I'm an awesome person, but how do I do this? So you want to surround yourself, and that could come in any form. That could be again, friends, family, peers, colleagues, formal programs. But you do want to surround yourself with people, not just people that are going to nod, and not just people that are going to let you do and think what you want to do and think. You want to surround I want to surround myself. I tell my team members all the time, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I need you to tell me if you think that's stupid. Especially if I'm talking about, like I said, I didn't go to school for marketing. So if we've got a client, but I have thoughts and I have ideas about it. And so I say, well, I'm going to say this, but I need them to say, I don't want them to go, well, the founder said that. That's not what I want. You're in this room because I thought you were smart enough in this field.
Exactly.
So I need you to say that was stupid.
Correct me.
I want you to be nice.
Yes.
But you need to say it.
Stand up for yourself and
That's right. Yes. So you need people that have similar goals, or that and again, it's always, to me, not only the practical but also that that holistic approach of just the healthy,
exactly,
a healthy you.
Yeah. My last question is, what advice would you give to a young person out there, or someone who's already in the business or thinking about starting, just from your experience of your journey so far? What advice would you give at someone who's listening today and trying to get some inspiration? What would you tell them?
Advice about.
So let me phrase it a little bit. What piece of advice have you gotten, or have you received somewhere that has helped you so far that you want to pass along to someone else today and say, hey, hold this on. This has helped me, and it should help you too.
I kind of laugh at myself about when you're talking, the things that jump in my head kind of make me laugh. When you say that, the first thing that comes to my mind is kind of like, well, so what? And what I mean by that is, if you hear, well, no, that hasn't been done, or well, you don't have this, and so therefore it hasn't been done. So what? You don't have this thing. So what? You know, it is. Does that keep you from making this thing happen? Does this keep you from, you know, I could go on about different stories, but there was a position my mother is one of my biggest champions. Again, I have a beautiful support system in my family. My husband, my mother, my siblings. I've got a beautiful support system. But many years ago, my mother said, you ought to be the director of something, something, something. And I said, well, we don't have that position at the company I was working for at the time. We don't have that position. And she said, so what? She said, write a job description and take it to your boss. I did, and he accepted it.
Wow.
And so, and so that kind of thing is kind of like, so what?
So what?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah. That does not mean.
Hashtag so what?
Hashtag so what? You know?
Wow, that is very inspiring. Hashtag so what?
Right.
So what? Man, thank you so much, Sherry, for coming on the show. This has been an awesome experience, just being able to chat with you, kind of like hear your story and kind of hear your journey. But for those who are watching from home, how can they contact you or Bluesymphony?
We're on all the socials, bluesymphony.com, at Bluesymphony, Bluesym sites, on all the socials. I'd love to meet anybody that's interested.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you again for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Man, you shared so many insights. So what? So what? Hashtag so what?
So what?
So what? Thank you so much for coming on the show. And for those who are watching from home, thank you for tuning in. It's been another Serial Entrepreneur episode. It's your host, Zeke Wong. And like I always say, stay fired up, don't give up, and I'll see you on this episode. And wait, subscribe. Subscribe! All right, see you next episode. Bye-bye for now.
To see how our city's entrepreneurs do what they do, tune in to City Entrepreneur on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Episodes drop every Thursday.